Welcome back to WION World is One. You're watching World DNA with me, Vidur Kathuria. Let's take a look at the top headlines we're tracking for you at this moment. Nepal's former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli and ex-Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak arrested for their alleged role in a deadly September crackdown on protesters that killed at least 77 people.
Now, and it'd be great if we could do something, but they have to open it up. They have to open up the Strait of Hormuz.
With oil prices already.
Donald Trump says Iran must reopen the Strait of Hormuz as a condition for peace, claiming Tehran is on the run and its leadership, military forces and nuclear program have suffered major damage from US actions.
We have objectives. I told you what those objectives are, and we are very confident that we are on the verge of achieving them very, very soon.
US Secretary of State Marco Rubio says he expects Washington's war objectives in Iran to be completed in the next couple of weeks, regardless of whether the United States sends ground troops. Israel's military says it launched strikes on the Iranian regime targets in Tehran with loud blasts heard and black smoke seen in the Iranian capital. A brief military statement doesn't provide details on specific targets. A man killed in Tel Aviv after Israeli military reports missiles fired from Iran, air raid sirens sounded in Jerusalem and explosions heard from Jericho. Israeli army deploys search and rescue teams to the affected areas. The United Nations announces a new task force to develop a mechanism to keep trade flowing through the Strait of Hormuz amid the Iran war. Warns that blocking this crucial shipping route could worsen global food shortages. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds a high-level meeting with chief ministers and lieutenant governors on the West Asia crisis, stressing vigilance, coordination and a Team India approach to tackle emerging challenges. Golf legend Tiger Woods is arrested for driving under the influence following a rollover crash near his Florida home. He escaped injury after his vehicle flipped while trying to pass a truck on Jupiter Island. US stocks tumbled on Friday with all three major indexes closing at 7-month lows and Dow falling into correction territory. Rising Iran tensions, higher oil prices and inflation fears pressured markets while investor sentiment remained cautious. US President Donald Trump has doubled down that the US is winning the war with Iran. He assured that the US military is achieving its military objectives in its war against Iran, suggesting that Tehran was desperately looking for a deal. Now, speaking at a Miami event sponsored by a Saudi sovereign wealth fund, Trump said that the US was going after targets as it was controlling Iranian airspace. He added that the US has another 3,554 targets left and that they will be hit very quickly.
We're crushing Iran's currently as we speak. I just looked. We had another big day. We hit them. They don't know what's happening. Remember this. They lied about 3 days ago. I said, yeah, we're negotiating with Israel. We are not negotiating. They're being hit so hard. Anybody would be negotiating. They are negotiating. They're begging to make a deal. They're begging to make a deal. Turned out I was right. They were negotiating, which they admitted 2 days later.
Trump also claimed that Iran is no longer a bully and called on the country to open the Strait of Hormuz, referring to it as the Strait of Trump.
And then they actually said, we're going to add an extra 2. And they added an extra 2, so we had 10 ships. And then people realized we were actually negotiating. And we're negotiating now, and it'd be great if we could do something, but they have to open it up. They have to open up the Strait of Hormuz.
Now, in his speech, Trump again expressed his displeasure with NATO over not joining forces against Iran. He said that the US spent hundreds of billions of dollars per year on NATO, but that now US was abandoning them based on their actions.
But I think a tremendous mistake was when NATO just wasn't there. They just weren't there. It's going to make a lot of money for the United States because we spend hundreds of billions of dollars a year on NATO, hundreds of protecting them. And we would have always been there for them. But now, based on their actions, I guess we don't have to be, do we?
Parallel to this, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said he expects Washington's war objectives in Iran to be completed in the next couple of weeks, regardless of whether the U.S. sends ground troops. Following the G7 talks in Paris, Rubio said that once the operations are completed, Iran would be weaker than it has been in recent history.
As the Department of War has consistently outlined, we are on or ahead of schedule on that operation and expect to conclude it at the appropriate time here in a matter of weeks, not months. And the progress is going very well. Obviously, we have some work to do. We have to finish the job, and we are finishing that job. I did describe to our allies.
Rubio suggested that Iran may decide to set up a tolling system for the Strait of Hormuz. He said that any such move by Iran would not only be illegal but unacceptable. He went on to say that the world needed to confront Iran's dangerous plan.
There are some in the Iranian regime that are going around saying that they want to make the Strait of Hormuz tolling thing. They want to make it permanent. That's unacceptable. The whole world should be outraged by it. We're impacted by it a little bit, but the rest of the world is impacted by it a lot more, including many of the countries represented today here at the G7. And so if those countries are deeply impacted by it, all we've said is, you guys need to do something about it.
In a joint statement, the G7 foreign ministers reiterated the absolute necessity to permanently restore safe and toll-free freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. They also called for an immediate cessation of attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff expressed optimism about the possibility of talks with Iran. In the same Miami event where Donald Trump spoke, Witkoff said he believes Iran will hold talks with Washington this week.
Well, my definition of real negotiating would be right here, and we don't leave until we're done. And we've offered that, and we think there will be meetings this week. We're certainly hopeful for it. Ships are passing. That's a very, very good sign. And I think the president wants a peace deal.
To discuss more, we are now being joined by Dr. Abner Cohen. He's professor of non-proliferation and terrorism studies at the Middlebury Institute. Dr. Cohen, thanks very much for joining us live on this broadcast. Now, recently there has been a shift in tone when it comes to the US and especially US President Donald Trump when it comes to Iran. But, sir, on the ground, matters seem to be escalating and there continue to be strikes and counter-strikes. Now, this leads to more escalation on the ground, sir.
Well, there is a threat for more escalation right now. There is troops that's on their way. Some arrived, some will be arriving. The problem is that as of now, the entry position of both the United States and Iran are far apart, maybe even ocean apart. And it will be very, very difficult to make a deal that both sides could appear somewhat satisfied. And it seems that Iran is ready for attrition war. And it seems that as much as Iran tactically and locally is beaten everywhere, essentially, both Israel and the United States dominating the air over the entire Iran or most of the Iran, and yet Iran is not ready to capitulate and to agree to the condition that the United States is asking. In fact, it's asking totally unacceptable conditions, including reparations from the United States. So there is interest to talk, but how far the talk could go, it's open questions. And it's also interesting to know that so far there is no direct talk. The talk is via mediators, Pakistan, Egypt, Turkey, and others. But so we'll see.
Right. Right. So you say that Israel and the U.S. are dominating the skies over Iran, but Iran does continue to counterstrike, and American soldiers have been wounded in Saudi Arabia.
Correct. There is no way to compare the way that each side hits the other one. Iran is very, very badly damaged. Essentially, much of its infrastructure in terms of productions of military equipment, munitions, all sorts of elements of war have been degraded very significantly. Iran was able to hit here and there some American targets, including embassies, but there is no way to compare. But the fact is that Iran is able to somewhat to function. It's able to engage nearly 10 countries. Recently, they even engaged Lebanon, who threatened to expel its Iran's ambassador. And Iran is not ready to, as I mentioned, is not ready to capitulate.
Right. Dr. Cohen, I would just like to add that at this point, it seems like the U.S. is more willing to hold a dialogue with Iran after we've seen almost a month, actually a month almost, we have seen the war has been escalating. So right now, the U.S. is more willing to hold a dialogue. So do you think that push will see both of them getting on the table anytime soon?
I think there is interest on both sides to talk. And I think that both sides would like to find something that would allow at least a temporal ceasefire to have, in order to have more serious conversation, to get some kind of framework agreement. Whether it's enough for both sides to have enough sense of satisfaction, enough sense of requirement fulfilled, it's an open question. I don't think that's the case. And I think the United States, because of that, will have to show more to Iran that Iran is indeed... Iran does not have a sense it's a defeated state. Both the United States and Israel feel that they have beaten Iran in so many ways and so many times and for over 4 weeks, and yet Iran is breathing and is not ready to recognize itself as a defeated state. What's interesting also is the fact that many of the neighboring states, including Saudi Arabia and most of the, perhaps all of the Gulf states, asking for the United States, don't leave it before Iran sends itself as being defeated. And that may take time.
Right, Dr. Cohen. Now, coming to the Strait of Hormuz, that continues to be the focal point or one of the focal points of this war. The UN has now created a task force, and although they have stated that it is only for humanitarian assistance at this point, can it be seen as a sign of positive things to come, especially for the US?
I don't think so. I think what the United Nations is offering does not have any practical significance at the present time. It's something after will be some kind of agreement. The United Nations would like to show it's relevant right now. Right now, it's not. I think the European also offers some kind of help after the conflict would be, at least would be temporarily suspended, let alone ended. But as of now, the Iranians are not ready to to allow in a very selective way of passage of ships. And essentially, for all practical purposes, the straits are closed to any country which is not friendly, is not ready to accept Iranian terms.
Right. So you also mentioned that Donald Trump has been frustrated with NATO. So when it comes to the American allies, NATO, do you think there is a sense of frustration from the US about their involvement, and do you see that changing in the near future?
No, and that could be a very deep fracture that could lead ultimately to either the end of NATO or NATO becoming a very, very tiger of paper, very weak entity. I think that as long as Donald Trump is in power, I do not see a real reconciliation between NATO and the United States. Given what happened vis-a-vis Greenland a few months ago, and now the very cautious approach of the European, which none of them have been consulted before the United States and Israel decided to attack Iran, I do not see any time, any rapprochement, any reconciliation between the European side of NATO and the United States.
Right. So coming back to the question of dialogue and diplomacy, which country do you think can be seen as a major player when it comes to mediation? Right now, Pakistan is involved in the talks, but we haven't seen any further development. Do you think any other country can play a major role when it comes to pushing both parties involved on the table?
It's interesting that until the hostilities started, Oman was the preferred mediator for Iran. It is no longer so. Oman has been attacked, among other countries, relatively less than the United Arab Emirates, less than Kuwait and Qatar, but nevertheless it was attacked. Right now, the mediator, in addition to Pakistan, are Egypt to a degree and Turkey. I think Pakistan also geographically situated in such a way that it will be easy if there is enough agreement to meet with the vice president, J.D. Vance. You can allow some kind of free passage for senior Iranian representative. I think they're literally scaring to fly west, to fly to Istanbul, let alone to fly to Geneva or elsewhere. So it's almost geographically Pakistani is the safe way to go east rather than west.
Right, Dr. Cohen, thank you so much for your valuable insights. As always, we'll of course continue tracking this ever-escalating conflict. Thank you for your insights.
Thank you.
Moving on now, Russia has sent a shipment of humanitarian aid to Iran amid the country's ongoing war with the US and Israel. Russia has sent across 300 metric tons of medicine by rail to the Astara border crossing in Azerbaijan. From there, Iranian officials received the shipment. Additionally, Moscow sent trucks with 150 tons of food, which was transported via North Caucasus Republic of Dagestan. The development comes amid claims and reports of Russia providing military assistance and also intel to Iran. According to reports, Western intelligence officials claim that Russia is also in the process of sending attack drones to Iran, along with food and medicine shipments. Russia's foreign minister has dismissed the claims and rumors on Moscow sharing intel with Tehran. While addressing the issue, Sergei Lavrov said, and I quote, "We have very close relations with Iran, including an agreement in the field of armaments. We have supplied Iran with military equipment, but we cannot accept the accusations being made against us that we are passing intelligence to Iran." The global energy market is under severe stress. While US officials insist the spike in fuel prices will be temporary, countries across Asia and Europe are already grappling with shortages and rising costs. As the crisis deepens, concerns are mounting over inflation, economic growth, and the long-term impact on global energy supplies. Take a look at this next report for more. The global energy market is facing one of its most severe disruptions in decades. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz has halted nearly 20% of global oil and gas flows, sending Brent crude prices soaring above $100 a barrel. The supply shock is already rippling across economies. Countries in Asia heavily dependent on Gulf energy are facing fuel shortages, triggering emergency responses and conservation measures. Europe is bracing for similar disruptions as early as next month. Executives warn the crisis extends beyond immediate supply cuts. Damage to energy infrastructure, including refineries and LNG facilities, could take months to repair, prolonging the disruption well beyond the conflict itself. While the crisis deepens globally, the United States is projecting confidence. Officials say the spike in fuel prices will be temporary, backed by record domestic oil and gas production. However, the impact is already visible. Higher fuel costs are feeding into inflation, raising prices of food and essential goods worldwide. In the US, rising gasoline prices are squeezing consumers and weighing on public sentiment. In contrast, countries across Asia and Europe are taking emergency measures. This includes tapping strategic reserves and subsidizing fuel to enforcing energy-saving steps. Governments warn that the surge in energy costs is slowing economic growth and increasing the cost of living, especially for vulnerable populations. The energy shock is also becoming a political challenge. In the United States, rising fuel prices have pushed down President Donald Trump's approval ratings, with affordability emerging as a key voter concern ahead of midterm elections. Despite calls to boost output, industry leaders caution that supply cannot be ramped up quickly. US shale producers indicate that sustained high prices would be needed for months before increasing drilling, as most capital plans are already locked in. Meanwhile, global energy firms warn that even if the conflict ends soon, recovery will take time, with infrastructure damage estimated at $25 billion and production restarts expected to take months. The tightness in global energy markets could persist. Business Bureau WION, World is One. Time now to take a look at what's making news in the world of entertainment. The Academy Awards are set for a big change. From 2029, the ceremony will move from the Dolby Theatre to the Peacock Theatre in downtown LA. This will mark the first venue shift in decades, as the Oscars have been held at the Dolby Theatre since 2002. The move comes as part of a new 10-year deal with AEG, which operates the LA Live Complex. The new Harry Potter series has officially dropped its first teaser trailer on March 26th. Based on J.K. Rowling's books, the show introduces a fresh cast led by Dominic McLaughlin as Harry. The young stars also made their first public appearance at a launch event in London. The 8-episode first season is set to premiere on December 25th this year. Comedian Bill Maher is set to be honored with the prestigious Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. The award will be presented at the Kennedy Center in June. Maher is best known for hosting Real Time with Bill Maher, where he discusses politics and current affairs. The ceremony will take place on June 28th and will be available on Netflix. That's a wrap on this edition of World DNA. News and updates will continue on the other side of this short break. Keep watching me on World is One.
Five states, one powerful voice. From Tamil Nadu to West Bengal. Kerala to Assam. Every vote shapes the future. Get the election pulse only on WION. WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Freewheeling down the Malabar coast and riding the ferry across town, Mirage explores a historic city in the new Tata Punch EV. Spread across spice warehouses, galleries, hangars, and islands around, the People's Biennale is all about the here and now. In Delhi, Diksha does a double take of Hyundai's Creta and Lime. All this and more coming up on WION Drive this week at these times.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Beyond the noise and rhetoric, no election, no ballot issue too small. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. More than just headlines. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power. Only on WION. World is one.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
YO1 Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to YO1 Health Resort. Make your reservation at yo1.com.
Vielleicht nur